Welcome, everybody. I am over the moon to have you at our inaugural Say Yes Summit. It's just so fun. You know, these things that feel like they just drop in our hearts, and yet upon arrival, feel like they've always been there. It's almost like my physical experience is catching up with the woman that I'm becoming. And so it's really fun to be able to be present enough, be a witness to that. I feel like this year, even just in the month of January, that I experienced a year's worth of expansion and growth. And that is where this idea came into my heart. I know both of you have a morning routine as well, and I love it so much, and I have coined a phrase that I've learned from Sharon, that my commitment to myself is real, and that is an experience that I get to just validate that every morning. And I was journaling and in gratitude about the podcast, because I don't have a word for the year. I have a phrase, and it is "let it be easy." And my at first my mind says, I'm not sure that's a valid strategy, and it's not proven, that's for sure. And as I continued to reflect on that, I realized I do have social proof that something can be easy and enjoyable and have impact, and that is the podcast. So from the podcast has grown into this beautiful membership, the Say Yes Sisterhood. And that started in January, which is super, super fun. And in thinking about, ooh, I want to have this person come into the membership, and this person, and thought there's too many people. I can't wait and space it out. I want to collect everybody. So then the Say Yes Summit is born. And so I sent an email to past podcast guests, and this summit filled up in less than a day, which is so exciting. And so we have April's is already filled up. I have a few spaces left for June, a couple spaces for August, and then we're working, November has a few more spaces. So now we've got a whole year of Say Yes Summits. We have beautiful things happening in the membership. We have a Paris retreat that's for members only. And so it's just so fun. So fun. I'm just excited and delighted and thrilled to have you start us off, which will be very exciting. I do want to let those that are watching know, if at any point you have a question for either of our panelists, then if you want to just drop that in the chat, we're going to go back and have some Q&A towards the end of this first session. And I want to make sure that we get that answered for you. You're welcome to hold on to it till the end as well, but I tend to have two speeds, and they are right now or not at all. So at least if you can capture that question in the chat, then we'll be sure to offer that and get that answered for you towards the end. Also to let everyone know kind of how this day will go. We're going to have these two fabulous panelists that I will introduce in a moment. And we'll be together until about 2:15, and then we're going to stop the recording. We're going to take a break. You can go for a walk, you can refresh your tea, you can do whatever you need to do, and then come back at 2:30 for our second set of panelists today. And then we're going to do the same thing tomorrow because that's so fun. So fun. So thank you for being here, my beautiful friends. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves formally, but I will say, Sweet Sharon Nichols, um, your were I to write your bio, it would be 2 words or 200 pages, right? So the 2 words would just be yes, please. Because that is how I feel about you. I need more of you always. We were saying to Stephanie before we hit record that we've been friends for 25 years.
Believe it.
It's crazy, right? And we speak a couple times a month, and we are incapable of getting off the phone in less than 2.5, 3 hours. And we still have so much to say, right? So
Yeah.
that's just yes, please, and yes, please, and yes, please. Would you please introduce yourself, and then we'll go over to Stephanie.
Yeah. Well, I'm Sharon Nichols, Wendy's friend for a quarter of a century. And I am also married to Scott, my beloved, who actually we met a year after Scott and I got married. So, and I also am a furry mama. My dog Winston just turned 9 today. It's his birthday. Sweet thing. So it's a
I
fun
can't
day at
believe
our
that.
house with him. I can't believe he's 9.
I know you were collecting him while I was in China collecting Amelia, and we were
Yes,
trading baby pictures.
we were. We were. So here we are. And over the years professionally, this all got started when I was in a speech competition in high school. Looking back, the seeds of my career were there. I was in a speech competition, My World, My Answer. And I, as a person of faith, I thought, well, maybe I should say Jesus. But what came from inside of me, like I really believe this, was communication. I just thought whether it's two friends, two people, a couple, a team, or world leaders, how we interact with each other makes all the difference. And lo and behold, that's what I've gone on to have my work centered around in one way or another as a communication coach and someone who's helped people I've spent a lot of time helping people just be more effective in their communication, whether it's for formal presentations or informal at work, in life. And I'll share more about this, but the last several years, my interest in that is focused additionally on the inner skill set we need, the inner knowing that helps us outwardly through just understanding ourselves better and how we interact with ourselves and how that plays out in all of our relationships. So love that. And what's also in there, I'll just say that these two intersect in my mind and in my world is design, the world of design and the environments that we create. I think having meaningful, purposeful conversations can really be enhanced by being in meaningful, purposeful physical environments. And I love the opportunity when those intersect and creating those. So Those are some of my loves and interests and passions, along with travel.
Oh, they're so beautiful. And I agree. Those are all true and your heartbeats. I love that. I never knew that about your high school speech competition. So that's fun. I love a new nugget, a new Sharon nugget. And I think that, one of the things that I've said to you many times, and for Scott as well, he is a psychiatrist and very um just compassionate and brilliant and sees things other people don't see for themselves, obviously. Like that's his job. And he's definitely the person that I want to be in walking distance to in case of any survival skill situation needs to happen because he does think outside of the box. But your focus on communication, and of course, we know that's not just the part that comes out of your mouth. You are such an active listener, and you both hold such sacred space. It makes me want to have better things to say
Oh my
when
goodness.
I know that you are listening.
Oh, thank you,
So
Wendy. Thank you.
thank you for that.
Mm.
Sweet Stephanie. Okay, everyone that listens to the podcast already knows that if I'm crying, it's how you know I'm not lying. So I didn't even know that that rhymed, but it's true. So I just feel like although we did not meet 25 years ago, our hearts just got right together so
Yes.
quickly. And I love this world that you've created for yourself and how you are integrating the written word and the imagined characters in and how you interweave that into quote unquote real life and these beautiful applications that not only the things that you read are informing, but the things that you write are informing and how they're just this beautiful cyclical relationship of the better things you read make you the better things you write, and it just keeps going and going. And the beautiful expression of that and how you don't keep all of that to yourself. Those two practices, reading and journaling specifically, are very personal, very can be private, typically things that we do on our own that we kind of tuck ourselves away to do these practices. But the fact that you have turned these private experiences into something that is so outward facing, and you talk about it on your podcasts and through all the many things that you're doing. And I just think that that's really beautiful that you're inviting others into something that's very private to you and is a quieter practice, but showing people how they can integrate this
Mhm.
into their lives.
Yeah.
So tell us about you as if you were telling us, not me. That's my bio for you. Now I'd love to hear yours.
I love your bio for
Oh,
me,
thank
Ruby.
you.
So hello everyone. I'm Stephanie Affinito, and I think the best way to capture what I do and who I am is to say that as long as I can remember, I have been a voracious reader and writer who has always loved the practice of reading and writing, or what I tend to say, notebooking, and then figured out how to live a life that does those things as often as possible. So I am, or I was, in education for a very long time as a reading teacher, a literacy coach, and now a university faculty member in literacy. And I spend my days teaching teachers how to teach kids how to read and unlock this beautiful world of reading and writing for themselves. I truly believe, and I have lived it over and over and over again, that reading and writing are very under discussed tools that can literally change our lives. They can help us in our wellness. They can help us grow through whatever we are going through. And they are, in many cases, free and just waiting for us to unlock their power. And over the course of my work, I've really leaned into what I am coining restorative reading and writing, which is a kind of reading and writing practice that fuels us and feels really good to our nervous systems, to our bodies, to whatever we want to cultivate in our lives, so that our reading and writing can actually make our life feel better. And better is defined in whatever better is for each of us. But books and notebooks, I think, are under discussed tools that could help us get there. And so I shout it from the rooftops wherever I can so that I can convince people to join me in my journey.
Oh, I love that. How is that convincing? Like, how are you turning that into invitation?
You know, the convincing is not difficult at all because it seems like everyone who at least is attracted to my reading and writing world is just waiting for permission to do more of it. If reading and writing is something that you connect with, that you wish you could do more of, it only takes 2 minutes of me telling you the researched, scientifically backed facts of how reading and writing can improve your health that convinces people, oh, it is not just what I do at the end of the day and my to-do list is done. This is actually a form of self-care, a form of wellness. And I think they're just waiting for me to give them those little nuggets to actually say, okay, I can put this first in my life to make everything else better rather than the other way around.
It's so good. Yay. Yay. There's some permission is actually the theme of April's summit. This theme is love, and it's such a gigantic word, right? And it's so, especially for you, for me, for everyone on this call, everyone in this world of wanting to be better so we can do better, so that we can have more impact. And I think that there can be a tendency to focus on what it looks like to do what we love or to love other people, and these opportunities that are outside of us. And what we know is that we can't give something that we don't have access to or haven't received ourselves. And so I'd really love to know, there's so much conversation around self-care and these practices that we do that take time, that are for us. But how are you living a life of self-love, and what practices are included in that, and what are the effects that you're feeling? Sharon, would you like to start,
Yeah,
please?
it's so interesting that you just acknowledged the bigness of the word love and how it can mean so many different things. And they are all true. You know, there's just such breadth to what it can mean to any one of us at any point in our life. And it's funny because as I was thinking about our time together, I and what some of the things that I knew have been a part of my journey these last few years, I thought, well, if I'm talking about love today and what that means for me, the way I'm defining it is that it's actively wanting and actively working toward the well-being of another. And in this case, I'm talking about the well-being of myself. So it's really aligned with what you're asking us, and that's really been the journey that's opened even further for me over these last several years. Um, so a couple ways that's played out and playing out.
Before you say that, can you repeat what you said? The working on and working toward? Did you
Yeah,
write that down? Okay.
actively wanting and actively working toward the well-being of another. And in this case, I'm going to be talking about the well-being of myself. You
Thank you.
know, as I mentioned, just as a person of faith, the great commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, your mind, your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that second part is really interesting. Like, how I love myself is how I love my neighbor. How are we doing? You know, if I'm treating myself poorly, that's going to show up um, in my relationships with others. And if I am actively working toward greater self-compassion and curiosity and love, that's going to ripple out in my other relationships as well. So, you know, the well, last week I celebrated my birthday, and I was thinking about how 5 years ago, Scott and I had a really fun birthday celebration in New York. You may remember that, Wendy. It was just like all of Sharon's favorites in a 2 day, blitz. It was terrific. And then we probably flew home with COVID on the plane, and the world shut down. That was 5 years ago. And, one of the gifts, and I know you've talked about this before, Wendy, as well, but one of the gifts of COVID in that whole period was just the invitation to greater self-reflection, self-awareness. And, I think my experience has been that our growth and what we're wanting in our lives isn't all up to us. The universe is very supportive and sends us things serendipitously. And even in my role at the time as the chief heart officer for the North Valley Community Foundation here in town, our CEO said, okay, I want a local psychologist to come in weekly and do meditations with our team. And I was in charge of that. So every week it was my favorite hour of the week. I got to just develop my muscles of being an observer in my life and learning even more clearly how I am not my feelings that come and go. I am the observer of them.
Mm.
I'm an observer of all of this, and how to befriend myself and have compassion for myself. So that whole path and other resources just like that I've shared before, the rain meditation from Tara Brach, recognize, allow, inquire, nurture. And I just discovered actually how fun it was to, when you feel off inside, something's just upsetting in some way. I use that practice and was astonished at times, honestly, how when I would just recognize, okay, something's going on inside, allow. So I would extend hospitality to that part of me, like, it's okay, you can be here, you're welcome here. And then that gentle inquiry of what most wants my attention.
Mm.
And if that part could talk, what would it say? And I was shocked. At times, something immediately just was like as clear as a bell, like, oh my gosh, why are you doing this to me? Like really connecting with something that just wanted my attention. And other times I've just seen that It's not as if anything needs to change or be done, but simply attending and giving, seeing a part of myself
Mm.
and having love and compassion and acknowledgement, just the way we would want to be seen and heard by others, doing that with ourselves, that part would just quiet down. That was enough. Just
Mm.
needed acknowledgement. And
Right.
what was so great about developing those kinds of skills is that it not only benefited me and it felt great to be able to attend to things myself, but it took the pressure off other relationships. I wasn't needing or looking to Scott or anyone else to fix something that was going on in me. And I could show up with a fuller cup and a fuller
Right.
capacity for others. So,
Right. It's a power move.
yeah.
It feels like, in also a woman of faith and growing up in the church, I feel like my takeaway was one of the many takeaways, but with regard to loving others was that was the focus.
Mhm.
So we knew the Bible verse of love your neighbor as yourself, but there was no it was their focus was more on being selfless, but to the point of self-abandoning. And well, and because not that that's what they were necessarily preaching, but my 3-year-old interpretation didn't really develop as my age developed because nobody was mad at my self-abandoning in because they were getting their needs met at a
Mhm.
higher level, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really beautiful to have these practices that can create a bridge for us because we can say, "Oh, I would love to make a change. I would love to learn how to be compassionate for myself." And I don't have time to meditate. No, I don't, it's like all of these things we need to make the time because as you said, you didn't just say, "Oh, I now get up at 5 a.m. every day and have this practice." But you said one of the benefits of the practice is that it took the pressure off of the other relationships in our life. And sometimes, with anything, with the trip to France. Okay, if I'm promoting one of my beautiful curated trips, I'm talking about the cooking class in Versailles. I'm not talking about there's only one tiny bathroom that you got to share with all these people on the plane that you never met, right? So we're not we're selling the benefits, not the features, right? So I think that's so beautiful that instead
Mhm.
of thinking, "Oh, well, I don't have time to meditate or I don't know how to do this rain system," but knowing that there is a beautiful prize besides just the knowledge of ourself because I don't mean to generalize no one else maybe thinks like me, but it feels like, gosh, are you sure? Are you sure that I'm allowed to do this practice and show love for myself and hold space for myself and let myself feel feelings that have previously not been tolerated by other people. And so even the knowledge that doing this practice and showing myself this beautiful act of love will have a benefit for another person and in those relationships, that's also a lovely bridge because it's easier on my conditioning that, oh, someone else will also benefit. Okay, that that feels
Mhm.
safer because
Mhm.
it's just uncomfortable and unfamiliar.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you for
Y-
that.
Yeah.
Stephanie, when you are like, how are you navigating this? How are you showing self-love and giving yourself permission to do that?
Well, it's a perfect connection, Sharon, to something that you said where, you go inward and you think, what do I need? How is my body feeling? How am I feeling? Where can I listen? Right, to myself. And so much of when we talk about reading and writing, at least in a typical reading and writing space online, it's usually about the outward goals. Well, how many books did you read this year? And what different genres? And did you read this celebrity book club? And are you going to, write something that other people will read? Are you submitting an article? It's always about the product or the statistics in terms of what we do. And I think of the opposite. I don't track my reading in the typical way. I don't track my writing in the typical way because I mentioned I feel like the best kind of reading and writing practice is one that's restorative. So I start with myself and I think, what is my body trying to tell me? What is my mind trying to tell me? Where am I in this particular season? And I always ask myself three questions. Who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And what do I want to do? And that starts in the body, it starts in the mind. And from that honest reflection, that then determines where I go next in my reading and writing. So based on those responses, I'm particularly choosing books that are going to help me grow into that new identity, to feel that way I want to feel, to do those things I want to do. Because what's so hard, I think that a lot of us can agree, is to just say, well, let's be happier. Let's not feel frustrated anymore. Let's just do that thing. It can be a really difficult reach, but because we know in the science behind reading and writing that literally reading left to right, writing left to right, at least in our language, over and over and over again brings a particular kind of meditated state that calms our nervous system down. And if our nervous systems are calm and we are reading books that are helping us feel the way we want to feel and be who we want to be and do what we want to do, it helps us literally change the way our brain thinks and paves the way for us to take the action we want to take in our actual lives. And so I always start there, and I look at books and that notebooking as tools to help me grow into that version of me that I want to become. And for me, that's the ultimate form of self-care. And it is a morning routine, as you mentioned. It doesn't have to be, but that's how I like to look at it, where we start with ourselves first and we really listen to whatever those messages are our bodies and minds are telling us. Could be positive, could be negative. In many cases, it's pain or frustration that's the signal to make a change. And I feel like books and notebooks, for the very meditative state that they can provide, as well as the way that they can change the way our brain works, can help us take those steps in our lives to feel that kind of self-love that can be so elusive in the regular way that the world works.
It's so
I
good.
love that.
It's so good. And just like you said, where can I listen? That's what I want to do. I want to listen. Sharon, I would love you to respond to Stephanie, whatever just caught your heart. And I would love just to listen to the two of you talk, because it's really, what's in your hearts, and you have so much wisdom to share. And I would just love that. I think you belong together.
Well, thank you, Wendy. I'll just say I just love your whole concept of restorative reading. I grew up just, a favorite thing would be to curl up in my room with a book and while away the afternoon. As you can see behind me, for those of you who joined us, we talked about this earlier, but I definitely love books and love reading. And I think your approach to that and what you're inviting educators and children and the rest of us into is so powerful. And honestly, some of my greatest inspired transformation and growth has come through the books that I've read. And I know we could all, talk about how powerful that can be. And I also have found the power in writing things down. And there's just something reinforcing. And I know you know the neuroscience behind it. I just intuitively experience that, but I definitely resonate with it. And I think it is just such a great invitation for us to listen to ourselves, um, especially now. The world is so noisy and we become whatever we give our attention to. And I think it's really an intention to return our focus to ourselves, um, to really like know who's at home and how are they doing. And as you were saying, Wendy, about becoming the woman you're wanting to become, that's certainly been a part of my journey as well. One of the other things, and you mentioned this earlier, in fact, the last time I was on the podcast, the one and only time, the first and last time, uh, we talked about this. I was heading off next on this amazing trip to Morocco and Paris with Scott. And we were part of the time in Morocco was going to be spent a week at a insiders designers retreat with Miriam Montague, a woman whose blog I'd followed. I love Marrakesh and Morocco and the design and culture. And she and her husband built a boutique hotel, Peacock Pavilions, and host people, and people like you, Wendy, have events there, and it's a thing. So
The
the
dreamy
week,
thing.
it's a dreamy thing. And the week was above and beyond. There's so many things happened that I couldn't have imagined. But one of the biggest personally transformative things that happened, that Wendy touched on earlier today, outside of our rooms, there was a sitting area and there was a coffee station. So every morning when you were ready, you could just go out and get a cup of coffee. And I have a little cup here, like the ones they had. And every cup every morning had a little slip of paper in it. And so this is mine. The first morning, I read this statement that Wendy shared earlier: my commitment to myself is real. And I was just like, what? Let me
Yeah.
read that again.
It gets
My
me every
commitment
time.
to myself is real. And everything in me just said, yes. And I love this. And then I thought, is it true? I want it to be true. And where is my commitment to myself real? And where could it be more real? And that just began what became a mantra for 2023 and 2024. And I think it's the other side of self-awareness for me is cultivating a relationship with myself the way I would with other people and making that more real. So it's like knowing myself, deepening in both knowing and loving myself has really been the journey. And, part of that too has been through, I think you mentioned this, Wendy, along the way, during COVID, I serendipitously was searching on Amazon for something else, and there was this little book called The Essential Enneagram. And I'd heard about the Enneagram before and always shooed it away, but something about that little book for $7.98, I just thought, I need it. And this is my book issue. That's
It is not an issue unless you decide it's an issue.
She's
well, that book,
moving, so she's decided.
yeah, that book was worth pushing the cart through. But that began a journey with the Enneagram that has deepened the awareness in a way to understand some of these you know, for anyone who isn't familiar with the Enneagram, it's a personality system in which there are 9 types, and they all reflect kind of predictable patterns of how we think and feel and act in response to the problems and situations life throws our way. You know, for a variety of reasons, nurture, nature, when we're young, we are brilliant at coming up with strategies that help us stay safe and keep us in a good place. But when we hold on to some of those patterns into adulthood, it can begin to constrain us and keep us more in a box than really helping us release into being our true selves and who we're really made to be. It can become more like handcuffs on than handcuffs off. And I'm not a person who likes in any way to box people into this is your type. I think we put ourselves in our own boxes at times, and simply having a tool like that for me resonated when I saw it. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much time I've wasted in my life. You know, I'm an Enneagram 9, and we want harmony and we want to stay connected, and often we forget about our own priorities and merge with others and get really busy supporting the activities and priorities of others. And I just realized, wow, you know, there's just so much of an opportunity to change that. And it doesn't mean, this is the part that I love about this, it doesn't mean either I win or everybody else wins. That's not the thing at all, but it's learning how to lovingly attend to me and my priorities in service of others as well. And that there's a both and in what happens. And it's actually a much cleaner way of relating and contributing and being. And so continuing to understand, and you know, one way I think about it, so much of what we're talking about is simply awareness. You know, the even what you were saying, Stephanie, about just asking yourself those 3 questions, like taking the time to check in and be aware. Awareness brings choice, and practice brings change. And it's just, it can be that simple. You know, evolution, are evolving. I think there are things that can happen in an instant, and it can also be just a gradual change. Just, you know, when you think about the seasons and farming and practices, nature takes its time. You know, there's a rhythm to these things, and we can too, but just that awareness leading to choices, new choices, and then engaging in some of these practices we're talking about that really do bring about change, you know. So yeah.
I love
Stephanie?
Sharon that I'm just jumping right in,
No, I
Wendy.
want you to
Yeah.
go.
Because when you mentioned the Enneagram, one of the things that I've been working on, and now we're going to have a whole other conversation together at another point, is
I knew it.
um, you know, the books and the notebook prompts
Mm.
that will help you lean into your natural tendency, and those that might help you to think broader as well. So, you know, books and notebook prompts for the generator, books and notebook prompts for the manifester.
Mm.
Those are things I love working on. It's one of my great, I don't know, it's my mission, I think, to just connect people to the books and the notebooking kinds of things that we can do to make them feel really good. And some of that is leaning into what feels most comfortable and most natural based on some of those frameworks, while the other side is broadening that circle a bit and moving out of those comfort zones to experience life a little bit differently on the page in ways that we never could in our actual life, but we certainly can quite easily on the pages of the notebook. So now my brain is just spinning of
Yeah.
we
Oh, I
need to
love that.
connect and share some of those ideas, and you need to give my books a review.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. I think that's so great. And I do think that having those questions and prompts that just support that discovery process and
Mm.
opening up new possibilities, even how you were describing, Wendy, your January and how epic it was for all of these ideas that came out, simply taking the time to do that. And particularly, it's so interesting with the Enneagram. We're talking about love today and just how we can attend to ourselves and generate a more loving relationship with ourselves that spills out into the relationships we have with others. And I really have seen in my own life how my increased self-awareness around some of my dynamics and making changes to things where, nines can be passive aggressive, kind of like not direct about expressing wants and needs. And as I've learned to do that more with Scott and with others, um, again, everyone benefits from that. And it also plays out in the workplace. You know, there was actually a study that Cornell University did on executive performance. And I think it's so powerful because they looked at success indicators for people who did the best at delivering results, performance for the company, but also managing talent. And the greatest determinant of that was self-awareness.
Mm.
I mean, individuals who were in touch with their own strengths as well as their challenges and some of their blind spots could better perceive how others would see them and could work more effectively with them. And funny enough, the opposite end of the spectrum were people who used more bullying tactics and were hard driving and, all of the things that you can imagine with someone who's out of touch with themselves in that way. And that's the tool in the toolbox that they know how to use. And so I think it not only benefits our relationships personally, but, in the workplace, there just comes a point where some of the other things do not work. And it may be a painful moment or situation that brings it to bear, but it's so relevant and can be so helpful. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
you mentioned the 9, Sharon, and I don't wanna put you on the spot, but is there so if you were looking at these practices of self-love, but what both of you are saying, and what I know is true for me as well, these aren't just a one decision that we make. It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna sit and read a book today because I'm gonna show myself some love, darn it." I mean, that's usually very reactionary to what's going on. I'm tapping out. I've had enough of you people. Um, where we're implementing these practices, for some of us, this is a new relationship. And when you are in a new relationship, if it's a romantic relationship, if it's a new friendship, if you're starting a new job, there's a learning curve and you got to go deep and you need to spend time. And so the practices, it's time consuming, but we've both, all of us have experienced and alluded to in this conversation, the results are life changing and continue to be. And we're not available or even interested in going backward in our evolution because of this. And Stephanie, you mentioned journal prompts that were um, conducive to the different elements of human design. Sharon, what I wanted to ask you was, is there a way or a question or a practice? I know that there's feeling, thinking, and doing. So there probably would be a combination of those things where how would a 9 implement one of these practices? And then how would a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? Can
Mhm.
you, is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think one of the points that I think it gets at is that um, there will be different practices that
Mhm.
they just resonate, with different people at a certain moment in their life. And so I think having just a variety of resources available. Of course, as a 9, I can speak to the things that have been really helpful to me. And I think, especially, with what I just said about even if we were all 9 sitting here, we'd each have our own unique route toward becoming more of our true self and our true potential. So there's a lot of nuance to it. I think what I found really helpful in the book that I mentioned, The Essential Enneagram, that I shared with your mastermind before when we had that fun gathering, is that self-discovery process. That particular book, you can take Enneagram tests online, and I've gotten certified to do it. And the one I have used is quite robust. And they also have a really neat couples report that I just love. But you can also do the one we used with your group, the Ready, which is very helpful. And then his book is like a way of, you would love this, Stephanie, because it's a book where you read through it and self-type by going through a process of just reading paragraphs about each type and finding your way to the one that most resonates for you. And the whole, without getting into too many details, his contribution to the world of the Enneagram was from what's called the narrative tradition, and where really the discovery process is led by the individual. So it would be helpful to answer your question, Wendy, if we just had a panel of ones on and ask them,
Right.
what are the practices that help you, and learn from that, because it's their lived experience. And in fact, when I went through my Enneagram certification, we did that among our whole group of 30 of us or so that were being certified. Every number was represented. So we had these panel discussions like we're having here, and people could ask us questions. And, there's no better person to learn it from, but the person who this is my life,
Right.
and to hear their take on it. That was really actually one of my favorite parts of the whole experience. It's just fascinating.
Yeah. Can you then, I know you said in the thinking, feeling, doing that there were segments of types that one of those was stronger or more, or one of them was weaker. Two of them were strong. I'm obviously not the Enneagram expert because I'm not using my words correctly, but I would just love to tie in how if someone knows, oh, thinking is my default, that might mean that I'm a whatever,
Yeah.
a 5, a
Well,
6, or a 7, I think.
yes.
I don't know.
The 3 triads that I think you're referring to are
Mhm.
think of it as heart, hands, head, or feeling, thinking, action, gut, the body. And so 2s, 3s, and 4s on the Enneagram are the heart. And that's feeling dominant. That tends to be the access point or way of connecting with others through that, feeling very intuitive with others, although each type is different.
Right.
5, 6, and 7, the head type. So thinking. And then 8, 9, and 1, the body type. That's the more intuitive knowing, and that's more of the action center. And so, of course, even if we have identified ourselves as, oh, this is definitely my type, we have parts of all of these in
Sure.
us. It's just that we most orient and anchor around one of them. And we could spend a
It's a
week, spend a
whole nother
lifetime.
show. Yes. I love the tasting menu that you created for that group you're working with because it just
Yeah,
takes
I'm
that
wondering
too
if I
long.
have it nearby. It's so funny. There's just so much. I am working with 2 women. In fact, we have our next tasting session tomorrow
Awesome.
morning. Our chilled subtype soup we're going
So
through.
good.
And I've kind of blended my love of fine dining and the Enneagram, and it is really a thing where taking a taste not overstuffing, not trying to pack too much in at once, but just getting a taste, spacing that over a long period of time, just to begin to grow into those ideas in our lives. So, yeah.
Amazing. Stephanie, do you know your Enneagram?
I know. I know of it. I know I've taken it at some point. I know you're talking in numbers, and the only thing that's coming to my mind is generator. And I don't
Oh,
know
that's human
that
Human
design.
design. Yeah.
that's a human design. Okay, then I do not know my Enneagram, and that's what I was getting my personality profiles
Right.
mixed up. However, I can almost guarantee that whatever number it will be the thinker number,
Okay.
as I am the person who lives in her head for better or for worse, who overthinks. And I think that's why the writing, the notebooking, the journaling, whatever name we want to call it, is so powerful for me as this self-care, self-love. Because if I don't put it on the page,
Mhm.
my own mind will turn on me so quickly and just overtake everything. I will overthink things. I will ruminate on things and I will hold it. I will just hold it somewhere in my body until I let go of it. And so for me, I love the kind of practice where, and I know you do this too, Wendy, I wake up in the morning and the very first thing I do is go to the notebook and I just write. I write whatever is on my mind, whatever is in my body, whatever on my heart, if I'm angry, if I'm upset. The actual writing I do every day will vary based on how it is I wake up, but that writing for me sets the stage for how I take care of myself
Mm.
and do that self-love for the rest of the day. So my morning always starts with that writing, and I really use it to figure out, how am I today? What do I need today? Because there is always something surprising that comes out on the page that
Mm.
I did not expect. And what I have done recently is, from that writing, I end now by taking a sticky note and I write some sort of affirmation that will hold me for the day based on that. And that affirmation can be one that I make up. It can be one that I take from Louise Hay and How to Heal Your Life. It can be from wherever. But I like to write that down and literally like stick it right in the notebook as the reminder for the day. And from there, I actually move into some sort of movement or yoga typically. Um, that helps me kind of bring that affirmation to life. And the
Mm.
last piece of my most wonderful magical morning routine is, from there I enjoy the cup of coffee with my book that is likely paired to what I need as well. And I have found that morning practice that I now know is probably related to the Enneagram that I am, who needs that thinking, and it needs to get that thinking off. It's kind of making sense why that practice has evolved in the way it has. I love waking up at 4:44 every morning just so that I can do those things before my whole house
Exactly.
wakes up.
Right? Do you
Love
feel like
that.
you get 2 days every day?
I do. I
Me too.
do. And the days that doesn't happen or can't happen, I do notice a difference with how I show up for myself and for everybody else all day long.
That's because your commitment to yourself is real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
would,
amazing. Go ahead, Sharon.
no, I was going to say, Stephanie, you are doing this in a way already with all of your work, but as you're talking about this journaling practice and how you go about it, it reminded me, what popped to my mind is, I heard a podcast this year, a woman whose coaching niche is journaling. So
Mm.
that's how she engages clients. And she'll even do like cafe meetups where they'll do journaling sessions and she has the prompts, or she does it, through their Zoom sessions, individual or group, and the whole thing is driven by the journaling process. So just planting a seed, or connecting to what you're doing, how powerful that can be for people. I mean, you're just sharing how powerful it is in your daily life. And that same practice, this other woman is using it in the way that she goes about supporting other women as well. So I really, really love that. You know, one of the things that I do in my journaling, here's a whole bunch of journals through the years.
Down there.
Yeah.
Right.
There are two things that always, there you go. Yes, always show up. Um, I write 10 things that I'm grateful for. You know, there's no magic to that, but it just aims me in the direction of what is good in my life. And then after that, I write out my commitment to myself is real. And I just reflect on the day I just had yesterday and revisit it in all the ways that I expressed to myself that my commitment to myself was real.
Mm.
And that's been powerful to just build evidence and to go back and look at those things that help reinforce that and the importance of it. And I would say two other practices that have been helpful to me as I've been on this journey. The whole my commitment to myself is real mantra year 2023, when that started, was the year we were living in Santa Barbara. And I had so many yummy, delicious things about walks in that area and the beauty there that always inspired me. And one day just was just an overly glorious day, but all of those things combined, I was just inspired to write in my journal. And I took a different approach. I just, I don't even know really what inspired me, but I just started off on thinking about myself, writing about myself from a third person perspective. Like, what does this woman know? What does she know that she wants and likes? Pages came out. And the funny thing was, after I had it and I reread it, I thought, I love this. I just love, and it's like, if I were to spend that time focusing on what everyone else is doing in the world, I'd completely miss out on my own blessedness and the blessedness of my life. And I remember saying, you are fascinating. You know, I just love that. And I think we can grow our love for ourselves. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's easier to access from that third person viewpoint.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And the other piece that really became um, a driving North Star type of writing piece for me is having an inspired vision written down for the woman I am becoming, reading and rereading and dwelling there in that vision and loving her and being her ally,
Mm.
like showing up in her essence every day,
Yeah.
thinking today about, I don't want to make a mess for my future self tomorrow. How can I handle things now? Doesn't have to be, you know, in 10 years or December 31st, but what can I do today that's going to make her life better 2 hours from now, you know?
Right.
And I'm not talking about perfection here. I make all kinds of moves, but this is like progress, persistence, overall, like coming back to these things. When we have an inspired vision and identity and self-concept that we can anchor into, that for me at least has been really powerful in bringing about lasting, enduring change, you know, and heading in that direction that I want to go in.
Yes, I love that. I love what you said, Stephanie, about your journaling practice as well, and how I've heard that if we tend to be in our heads, like as a rule or about a specific topic, that we're just overthinking, that to switching, that's not the time to meditate. That's just you're gonna be more in your head, and will be very challenging to quiet your mind, and that's a great time to journal because it moves it from your head to your heart through your hands.
Mhm.
And then when you're feeling maybe more attached emotionally, that you're not able to think with clarity what to do next, that is a better time to meditate because you're moving from your heart to your head. I also loved what you said, Sharon, about journaling on after your gratitude practice, but then journaling on your mantra. And, in January, my community, we had a word of the year workshop. And I just think that would be such a beautiful practice to implement into the notebooking practice of what were my evidences? How did I let this be easy
Mhm.
yesterday, and reflect
Mhm.
on that, and then segment intend for this next portion of my day. How can I let this be easy?
Mhm.
How can this work? And then the last thing that I wanted to say, Sharon, what you were when you had that beautiful rampage of appreciation about yourself. And
Mhm.
one of the things, I mean, many things, of course, over our long love affair. You're my longest relationship. I love that about us. Um, and when at times when I have said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about this. I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know. And you just did it when I was at your house last year at this time. You just have such a calming presence anyway. But you would say, when I'm saying, I don't know, what do you know? And it's such a kind invitation. I just think of Cher in Moonstruck when she's like, "Snap out of it." And that's what it does. What do I know? Oh, what do I know? And I can rampage about what I do know, and like that is a shift in my consciousness
Mhm.
when I can ask that question. And I'm so grateful for that tool, and I'm grateful that that's a tool that it's a gift we can give ourselves, and it's such an easy tool to impart to someone else that is sharing confusion or just feeling unclear. There's just so much inner wisdom that we can tap into when we answer that question. Even if it's, I know I need a drink. I mean, I'm thirsty, not I know I need a drink. Sometimes I need that too. Sometimes that's what I know. Stephanie, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
There is.
Yay.
And I was thinking about it a couple of times throughout our conversation, especially when we think about the shift in thinking, the shift in the way we talk about ourselves, the ways that we think about that future us, that vision that you were talking about, Sharon. What we know about the research on writing is whatever we write down is amplified. Whatever we write
Mm.
down is strengthened. Whatever we write down makes the grooves in our brains deeper. And so this shifting in our thinking, we know that what we think sets off a whole host of chemicals in our, natural pharmacy, whether those are positive chemicals or negative. And what we know about writing is that writing down those things amplifies them. And so thinking about what we are grateful for and handwriting them, thinking about that future vision of ourselves and handwriting it. That's why I end my morning practice with a written positive affirmation, because some days, honestly, it is not all that positive on the page. And I
Mm.
don't want that to be how I start my day, how I kick off a beautiful morning practice. And so I will let go of all of that inside. So I leave it on the page, and then I will not leave that page until there is something positive, strengthening, intentional, vision building on that page, because that really does set us up neuroscience based for keeping those thoughts going and really believing them and living into them. So all of these shifts that we try to make in our thinking and in our meditation and in our practice, writing them down literally, like truly literally, can help us get there faster by being really mindful of how we go about it on the page.
Mm. Oh, so good.
Write
Sharon,
it
anything
down.
you want to say?
Well, I just love that. And I think one of the things that is become evident in our conversation is how central to all of us the writing component is and the role that it plays. And I mean, I've always just felt that something toward my well-being happens when I can write it down and get it out of my body. And so I just love what you're doing. I love these different ideas and practices and prompts that have come up in our conversation. And it actually is just personally inspiring me to keep going and do it. And I would say, one thought that is in my mind, when I was in my doctoral program, one of our professors said to us, just, how certain things just stick with you and land deeply. And she said, "You are the instrument." And the idea being, whatever thing you're selling or doing, or whatever theory or model or this or that, it's coming in and through you. And that, one of the ways I would think of that today, if I were saying for myself, I think my growth, like investing in that, is my greatest gift to the world. Like our investment in that, we are the instrument, you know, um, investment in, and all these things are just the fruit that is born through that process. And it's the gift we have to offer others.
It's
That's love.
so beautiful. It is love. Oh, I just think a really fun act of epic self-love would be if you could think of 3 things that you know.
Mm.
Steph, would you like to kick us off? What do you know?
It's so funny because I've written that down. It's literally on my notebook
I
as
love
we
it.
are taking notes for today to bring to the page in a very
Yeah.
personal way
Ah,
tomorrow.
right.
What do I know in
In
relation
this moment. Yeah.
love in this moment. I know that I am willing to show up for myself. I don't always hit the mark, but I'm willing to keep trying every day. I
Mhm.
know that for me, this self-love starts with reading and writing and helps me move from there. And I know the best way that I remind myself of those truths is to share it with others like we are
Mm,
doing now. There's something about the energy that comes from conversations like
yeah.
these around people who want to not just fuel themselves, but lift up everybody else as a result. Just as something so wonderful when you get off the
Yeah.
call, you feel better. So thank you
Yes.
both for that.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
Thank
Sharon, what do
you.
you know?
I know that I am God's beloved.
Mm,
Mm.
I know that I am loved, and there's nothing that I can do to earn it or deserve it. It's just the reality. And I know that I have, how do I want to say this? I know that not keeping that to myself, but expressing it in everyday, big and small ways with others, like today, accepting your invitation to be a part of this, is part of what will give me the fullest life I can live and also make a meaningful contribution for others. And it's a both and.
Absolutely.
What are your three,
What do
Wendy?
I know? Okay. I know that I thrive in collaboration and community and expansive conversations. I know that I am the deliberate creator of my own experience. And I know that my commitment to myself is real.
Yay.
Yeah, it feels so good that I'm at work right now. It's so amazing. And I love that this is just something that we get to create the life that we desire. And another thing I know is that the yes unlocks the how. So,
Mhm.
whatever beautiful seed is planted in your heart, you're giving it water and sunshine, it's growing, it's now too big for your body. That is on purpose. And it's time to let that out and involve a beautiful, curated community to foster those beautiful dreams with you. I have loved this conversation. I would love to have you, any closing thoughts? Stephanie, we can start with you. Let people know how they can find and follow you. Of course, we're going to send everyone all the things, but if there's anything particular that you're working on now that you would like to invite people into that would be a good fit, I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. Yes, so you can find me and kind of keep up to date with all the projects I tend to have up in the air at alitlife.com. I have a podcast called Get Literate where we talk about all things reading and writing to make life feel better. And then I have a second podcast called Kid Lit Love where I try to bring that same spirit of reading, but to the people that care for little ones and can start the journey to reading and writing for them. And the one thing that I would love to share, Wendy, is one of my most favorite projects, which
Yay.
is my 365 days of book postcards. So this is my most fun thing. We're in 8 countries now, but basically I have these postcards that I made that look like library cards.
Love it.
And you fill out a quick Google form that tells me your snail mail, physical address, a few things about you and your reading life. And I handwrite a book recommendation that I think is perfect. And I pop it in the mail, and you actually get a little bit of joy in the mail instead of what typically ends up in there. And it's my most favorite way to connect with people and try to connect them with a book that I think could be a really pivotal book for them in this moment. So anybody who would like some good old-fashioned snail mail, I would love to send you a postcard.
Oh, I love it. Well, we will put all of that in the email with the replays as well.
Thank you.
Sharon, anything you would like to close with?
Mm. I just want to say it has been so fun to be here and to have this conversation with you all. I've enjoyed getting to know you better, Stephanie, and just love the overlap in our book loving hearts and journaling practices with all of us. So thank you so much for that. And I just think, for anyone who's listening, there's one thing that you heard that jumped out at you, honor that, pay attention to it, play with it, bring it into your life. I think one of the biggest things that I've experienced on my journey is that there is a grace of life that is for you and wants to support you. And so many of the things that I shared and others that we didn't even get to came my way, honestly, when I was searching literally for other things. Things plopped there and got my attention. And, even the whole trip to Morocco was in response to my heart that just said, I want to do this. And I think as we've talked about that listening to your body and listening to your life, follow those cues and see what happens. I've really just experienced so many doors opening, and so much of my life, I'm a planner, but so much has been unplanned, and it's been the delicious delight of the surprise that I never saw coming. So that's what I hope for you as well. And I would say right now, the great way to stay in touch with me is just to follow me on Instagram. My really my greatest intent in life is to live my best life and inspire others to do the same. And I would love to continue to just post the things that are a part of my life and share with you in that way. And if you want to reach out, please send a message and let's keep in touch. And I'll continue to let you know of things that are opportunities and things that are in my life if you want to be a part of that.
Oh,
Thank you so much,
fantastic.
Wendy.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This is so fun. My cheeks are sore from my big smoothie. It's so fun, and we're only halfway done with day one. You know me, Sharon. I love beginnings.
I know beginnings are awesome.
So good. It's my favorite. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to pause our recording for this portion, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I'm so excited. We've got our next session with two fantastic presenters. Gosh, it's just hard to know where to start. I'm so grateful for the podcast. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I have to use my voice, and that people actually listen is fantastic and a gift to me. And by the sweet love notes and responses, I know it's a gift to them as well, so that the ripple effects of something that we're doing is so amazing. And I also love, I mentioned this earlier, it has been a beautiful package of social proof that I can let it be easy. And that's my mantra for 2025. And it feels so beautiful to be enjoying the experience, to be available for the experience, and to truly be unattached to the outcome, and to truly be in this mindset that the how is not my responsibility. We were just talking before we record. I have a podcast producer. So all I do is have these conversations, and there are these fantastic PR companies that are pitching me every day new people, which is how I met you. So I'm not doing anything, and all of this beautiful, abundant goodness, connection is just flowing my way. And I know I'm not doing anything. I'm not efforting, and I'm not forcing it, compared to all the years that was my practice, and then being really disappointed and confused of why this wasn't all working. It's because I'm not supposed to be working it so hard. I'm supposed to just be allowing it. So I love you, and I'm grateful for you for being a cooperative component in allowing me to really see and hear and feel and know that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And that is a really, that's a high vibe situation to be in. Yes.
Yay for high vibes.
Right? Oh, it's so good. So, I'm going to have you ladies actually introduce yourselves. but I want to say first what I know about you. So, Jarena, I'm going to start with you. I I love this happened for both of you, but I love that just in the beginning of our conversation, the first conversation we had, there was just so much synchronicity, there was so much comfort and joy and resonance. It's really beautiful. And then you held gorgeous sacred space for me in one of your beautiful shamanic healing situations. I don't know the words. I don't know the words. I can tell you if this was a menu, I could tell you all the words and it would sound like I know what I'm talking about. But what I do know happened was that I felt seen and heard and known and loved and safe. And that last piece, that doesn't happen all the time. And that's not something that you learn from a certification program. So it's something that you provide um, because of who you are. And I'm very grateful for you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, what I feel like it's a hard follow after that. So, um, so thank you so much, Wendy, for, inviting me here. I so appreciate the opportunity to just continue to hold space with you and share what is on my heart to share. So, again, my name is Jarena. I'm lots of things. I think first and foremost, I'm a shaman. I'm also a trauma counselor. I am also a medical intuitive, and I've also been trained in Reiki and hypnotherapy, and um, I do a lot of energy work as well. So I have certifications in certain things because I love to learn, even like, stuff with life coaching and whatnot. But I love to blend that with the energetic work that I do because I feel like it goes so beautifully hand in hand. I started off with just doing energy work, started with Reiki, and then found that when I was just doing that simply, it just wasn't quite enough in the work that I was doing. And so I started to dig and find out more things about, okay, what's really going on here, especially when I was working with people and they were like, hey, this is back, whatever it is. And then we have a conversation and I'm like, oh, well, there's some trauma here. We need to talk about this. Um, and so that's how I started to get more experience with and certifications and training really in how to do certain things. But then again, just blend it in with just the more intuitive work that you can't really learn anywhere, but just by doing it and working with people. So I love working one-on-one with people, and I love working with groups. I love doing retreats, with just helping people deal with chronic illnesses as well as mental things that they're going through. Just, I have no idea what's going on with my life. Okay, let's try to figure that out. Or an actual disease they have, especially one that they've had for a very long time. They're not really sure what the root of that is. We can have a shamanic journey and find out what it is that is the root cause of that. So I believe that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Beautiful. And yes, so good. Thank you so much. Nancy, I'm going to tell you what I know about you. I loved our connection. It was also instantaneous. And I love the trajectory of your journey, how you've just opened yourself up to new information in new ways that really coincides with where you were going in your life, but also just up level and enhanced it in such a beautiful way. And I think also in an exciting way that you have to share it, and you share it so generously, and you share it so personally. We know what's most personal is most universal, and I think that's why your message is so well received. It's just it lands softly but purposefully, and it makes the integration of how to love ourselves, how to love our bodies in very practical, demonstrative ways that are requiring a shift from what used to work in the past is, and it's just, obviously, you wrote the book, but it's just beautiful. And I just want you to know that if you didn't already call yourself the vibrant sage, I would call you that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you for letting me be part of this summit and actually connecting with Arena as well. My name's Nancy, and I call myself a vibrant sage. And really, what a vibrant sage is about is tapping into our own inner wisdom. And when we can tap into that, both physically, spiritually, emotionally, now we can bring our gifts out to the world. To put it into a nutshell, I was a speech pathologist for years. And then it suddenly hit me that maybe a lot of these adults who have these chronic diseases, maybe they didn't have to. Maybe it was lifestyle. Same time I was starting to run. So I came from a perspective of a very physical perspective. You get strong, you lose weight. Now that's what a powerful person is after the age of 50. I didn't think about myself as aging or exactly what that meant. And I actually pushed myself to a point that I had an injury. So somebody might be pushing themselves in a way that's unhealthy, and they may have type 2 diabetes. They may end up having high blood pressure, other type of chronic lifestyle disorders. For me, it was in my physical body, and finally my body gave out. I fell, I cramped, and then I had to go, what's health? So that was really what started my journey. I thought being a fitness instructor was it. And through finding out more about DNA, which got me to tap into really my genetic makeup. And then over time, I'm also with Reiki too. I'm a yoga instructor, breath work. And as I started bringing these other pieces in, I'm like, whoa, there is just so much wisdom and power out there in this intuition. And as I opened my heart to trust the universe, not just myself. It's like all of this stuff was pouring into me. And from that, I decided I had to write a book, and that's called The Vibrant Sage, Arousing Energy for Health and Happiness. And my whole platform is for us to tap into our inner wisdom, our soul, our body, and find out what's best for us so that we can give our gifts to the world. And I'm really very passionate about each of us having that unique gift, to honor that uniqueness within in a world that is so many conform, or you look at the physical end, but really it's tapping in here and trusting yourself to become that vibrant sage. Because once you put all of those things together, you do have that energy. You have that energy even when things are struggling, because there's something greater than yourself that you're working towards.
Right. Right. That is of your own making.
Of your own making.
Right. Which is so not some picture in a magazine or something that somebody else needs me to be.
Nope. Or what you learn. So
Mm-hmm.
many people come to me as a health coach, and I'm on keto, or I do paleo or low carb, and it's just whatever they're being told. And then we have to push things back, and it's actually a little scary.
Right.
Sometimes for a person to trust themselves, or to go in deep and go, really, what am I feeling? Because we don't always. That's why your say yes is just like so powerful. And that whole thing, it's like inspiring all of us to like, yeah, I am unique, I am awesome, I'm amazing, and I have purpose, and I am going to be unapologetically myself. Given that you're giving
Pretty
your
much.
love and your wisdom and doing good things, that as like a light worker into the world.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, yes, and yes. So fun. It's so, and I love that, that you guys are together. It's as if there's a plan. And it's so fun too,
Definitely
because our
so.
first set of speakers, Stephanie and Sharon, are both, and I put them together on purpose because of this. They're so just tender-hearted and full of grace and peace and hold such beautiful, peaceful space for people. And it was a nice way to lead in because now we're sitting up in our chairs, we are waving our hands around. And what I would love to ask you, I'm going to start with you, Jarena, in this idea of love, and most specifically, the love that we show to ourselves. How can we, or and how do you bridge this, what feels like a gap of showing myself love in the knowledge of a traumatic experience? Like, how am I not blaming myself for whatever this, all the things that So tell us
Yeah.
how.
So for me, I actually just had a session with someone last night who had a very traumatic experience when she was 8 years old.
Mm,
And she didn't realize that she was still living cycles of things now, that stemmed from what happened. And I think what helps most people in this situation is not always forgiving themselves, because a lot of people think, oh, you just have to forgive yourself. Well, sometimes it's not that easy. Um, uh, for me, I think one of the biggest things is understanding that we are here to learn lessons, and everything is like a test. And we need to understand that it's not always about needing to blame somebody else or blame ourselves, but if we reframe how we look at what happened as almost a neutral thing,
mhm,
and process it in that way, then we can say, okay, this had to happen because I needed to learn XYZ, which is usually self love, honestly. Um, and, I needed to learn to love myself through this,
mhm,
or it, needed to happen so that I could then build the resilience to be the person that I am today. Um, but if you start with that reframe of whatever it is that happened in the traumatic experience, it really helps to have people be like, okay, now I can love myself for who I am now because I went through all of those things. And I can love my inner child or the person, because it could have happened last week. So it doesn't matter when, right? I could love that person too. And the person who might have been involved with that, so there's love all around for all of that. Once you reframe the issue or the event that actually happens, that's
mm.
that's kind of the way that helps a lot of people in that situation.
Sure. And I understand this reframing of, this didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And
Mm.
that can, obviously, it's great that someone's doing that work with you, because that can feel like you're letting somebody off the hook, which I had a great conversation with Dara McKinley on the podcast a few weeks ago. And she has this forgiveness method, and not it's not pardoning. It's not accepting, like, I'm going to tolerate your bad behavior.
Mm.
It's accessing this powerful love that is available to
Yeah.
us to
Mhm.
then shine onto this. So we're just the channel of it.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
not the judge or the pardoner.
Yeah.
And it feels in that being, it's not really once removed, but we're accessing this higher power, we can also know that we have access to that higher power for our healing as
Absolutely.
well as for our pardon. And what you mentioned as well about loving that inner child, there's
Mhm.
something that comes up when we're thinking about it's, well, obviously it's not fun. Nobody wants to think about their traumatic experience. And
Yeah.
if that is something that's going to unlock some healing, then yes, we want to go there. Just like, yes, we know we have to do the 20 push-ups or whatever. Never do the 20 sit-ups. I could do that. Never doing 20. If 20 push-ups is the gateway to something, I'm not getting it. So right now at least. But I think that there's so much beauty in against that, again, that feeling of being once removed, looking, Sharon said it in our earlier session, taking like a third person
Yes.
perspective where you're looking at the situation, but you're looking at it as your adult self
Yeah,
witnessing your younger
exactly.
self, and
Yeah.
that there's no blame there.
Mhm.
There's only compassion and righteous anger, which is also good because it's, higher on the emotional scale from powerlessness,
Correct.
which you were experiencing before, which made you not even want to open the door to that closet.
Mhm. Yes. No, I completely agree. I'll start with the righteous anger. Yeah, there are definitely levels, and it's important for people to understand that they have to give themselves grace for whatever level that they are. Even if it's one step above where they were before, that's perfectly fine. But definitely, see, this is another reason why I like taking them through a journey and, like kind of with the hypnosis as well, because once we get you into a state where you're completely relaxed, your subconscious is then able to really process the trauma that you went through. And I also do EMDR out of a shamanic session, but it's so important to process what you actually went through so that you can then love yourself again, and accept all parts of yourself in this journey, because it's so important. But being in a safe space is like number one in order for you to do that.
Right. Well, Nancy, how are you implementing this overarching theme of self-love, which, you mentioned earlier, our conditioning would say that we need to focus on everybody else and that focusing on ourself is selfish. There's a podcast that's coming at some point in time, um, with a woman who wrote a great book about boundaries, but she talks about selfishness. She goes, people say it like it's bad, but it's self-ish. It's not completely only about you. It's just self-ish. And so like there's some grace in that. And we know it's self-preservation. It's all the things. But how are you experiencing that just even in your own life and through this process for you?
Well, so much with the yoga that I do and the meditation and the breath work. I do something called yin, where you hold the shapes for a while. So whether I'm doing individuals therapy or coaching or within a group, we always come into ourselves. We find that place that's safe to let go of what's happened, to forget about what's going to happen, to just come in and to tap in all of your five senses and bringing that in. I truly believe we have to recognize the power of our breath. If we don't remember anything, our breath can give us a clue to how we're feeling. And when we can take a nice deep breath in and calm and exhale, maybe even some affirmations like I am love, I am loving, I have joy in my heart, and put your hand there, it can really make a transformation. So through that, I have found as people quiet their mind and go in, they're able to tap into something. And then, well, I'm not trauma release and all of these things, it's out of my scope. It does so much of what I do brings it out in people and individuals. So it becomes like this safe place. And for them to slowly like go, ooh, that happened even when I was 3. And this is how I'm responding now. And now we find that place of self-love and how, you know what, that 3-year-old self, that was good. That's all you had. Where can we go now? So with a lot of my clients, if it's one-to-one, I do that. Within the group, it is always about self-love, because we can't give to others what we don't have for ourselves. And those that tend to be attracted to me recognize that. They may know that they don't have it yet. They may come to me really sad, their kids have gone away, and they don't even know who they are. It's often part of my, so many people who come to me, it's during that transition, whether it's close to retirement, their kids are grown, and what about me? After we've given so much to everybody, and they know the time is for them, but they really, they've lost what it is inside of them. We just so often go through the actions. So again, finding that breath, putting your hand on your heart and breathing that in. I have found Reiki has been a very powerful tool to use as well, bringing in universal light for light through you as a conduit to the person, and then they receive it in the way that they need to. That has also been very powerful. They have to be trusting, and it's a safe place. But when they finally, wake up and come in, there's this calm and this peace that comes inside. But it is a battle that many of us have, where we might go back to that 8-year-old self, that 3-year-old self. But even if you have that awareness of, oh my goodness, this is like my old programming, this is what I did, now we can catch ourselves. And now what is it that you can do? What tool in your toolbox? I'm really about empowering an individual to be able to come inside of themselves to do it, because too many people have been telling us what we need to do.
Right.
Growing up, school, career, family, finances, and now it's our time.
Serena, I would love for you to respond to that. I had the joy and pleasure of being the only person talking to each of you, and I would love to hear, because you have so much in common with your work, but you also, it seems like you're meeting people at a different space on the journey. And so I would love to hear your response to what Nancy said. And then, and also, both of you, just if you could share, how do we, so we know, okay, we're going to do this differently. Great. I only know what I know. So how do I access this inner wisdom and trust that this inner wisdom is not some trick to make me just be selfish and, whatever. It's very unfamiliar. So I know
Yeah.
that was a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Go, Sabrina.
Okay, I'll try to remember. Okay, first to respond, yeah, we resonate so deeply on so many things for sure. You've mentioned awareness quite a bit, and I find that it is so key in any healing journey, no matter where you are, because when you go through life with the blinders on and the mindset of well, really just whatever they have trained you to believe, in school, on TV, and you're just watching the news all the time and all of these things. There's a lot of victimhood that happens, and a lot of people don't really even like to hear that word, but the truth is, once you start being more aware, and doing that through meditation and through calming the mind and breath work, which is so powerful, then you can really get to a point where you're like, okay, I went through that because of this, or I can start to heal my body because of that. Or just being present allows your brain to do so much. There's so many people who are skeptical of Reiki and all of the energy work and everything like that because they, don't really understand it. And sometimes it's could be hard to explain simply because we didn't create it, it's life force energy. And it's just like, how do you really explain life force energy? But the truth is, if you just give yourself a chance to calm down and not say anything, just be quiet, just stop talking for a little bit, focus on your breath. That's it. Your brain will do whatever it needs to do. And we just need to, give ourselves that time to do that more. So the breath work, perfect for that awareness. And I love too that Nancy works with sounds like a lot of people transitioning also. And it's so important because so many women, once the kids leave the home and whatever, or they get divorced or, retire, they're like, who am I? So this type of work helps them to again reframe who they are also. And sometimes it just takes calming down the brain. Okay, Wendy, you're gonna have to remind me of the second
No, that's
question.
okay. That's beautiful. I'll come back to that. Nancy, is there anything that I'm just gonna, you guys just talk to each other for a little bit and then
Okay,
I'll pop in with how do we do this was my
okay.
question.
In my 30s was the first time I tried to calm down my brain. I was told to just sort of don't think of anything for 5 minutes. After
Mhm.
5 minutes, I was bawling my eyes out that I was a failure. Here I was working full time. I had 3 kids. They were little. I was married and I just couldn't do it. And it took during that time, they thought I had MS. I had a tremendous amount of stress. And when you're really
Mhm.
stressed, it's extremely difficult to quiet your mind.
Mhm.
And through my own life journey, there were periods where I wasn't ready for it. But then when you're ready, sort of that teacher comes and meets you where you are in that journey. And it might take, I talk about breath work, it may be one deep inhale, exhale twice for 30 seconds, and that's what you've got. But quieting everything down. As I was hearing you speak, my thought was, I get people started on the journey, and then you're a good person to even go a little deeper in that dive. That was my intuitive feel while you were first talking.
Yeah.
Because uh, when I get that deep, I sometimes get a little scared because it is so powerful.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
one time somebody's both parents died, and they came to her and
Mm.
gave me a message. And that
Mm. I
re-
love it.
and it was the message they she needed.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the next time some other figures came and she wanted a journey, it was like Saint Christopher. I had no idea about Saint Christopher and the idea of a journey. And so all of this, I'm just learning is very powerful. Is I've had it practiced on me, and now I share it with others. But there
Mhm.
are layers, and life is a
Absolutely.
journey, and you sort of start molding, and then you work, get to a point, and then a little bit more. And recently I was listening to a YouTube video and they gave the idea of gold, and you might have a gold block, but what happens to get that to be molded into something beautiful? It needs heat. There is a struggle that takes place. And they were using that as a metaphor for us. I thought, you know what? That's true. And that gold would never change if there wasn't some pain or some struggle that we're working towards. And that just made me think of the importance of embracing all of these things that have happened, even when that 8-year-old self, and when we can learn how to take that and change that to create that beauty that's in us in this journey of who we are authentically supposed to be. And I believe we're finding ourselves on this journey because we forgot. And if we're
Mm.
blessed, we can find that and we can tap into this intuition and give that gift to the world because the world's ready for it now.
Yeah. So I don't do yoga, so that's all you. But you can give me the visions, you can give me, everybody who wants to visit. I love that stuff. We journey, and the thing is, there are different levels. Like I have some people will lead in a meditation and it's just about healing the body. They just want to calm their nervous system. We'll focus on maybe a energy ball with a light and, shining on your knee and, wherever it is. And they just need, that type of thing. There's no mention of any visitors. And then there's some people where we go on a deep journey and I'm like, all right, who's going to come visit? Bring on the spirit guides. So, there are so many levels to it, and I love them all. But I may have some, when we're done, a little bit of physical exercises that I may suggest or so, because um, I think I told you, Wendy, I was in a car accident about two years ago.
Yeah.
So after that, really is one of the things that also triggered me wanting to help people understand the meaning of their collisions or issues that they're having. Um, and then I was able to heal my body without having surgery or doing anything that's that invasive. So I also guide people in that way. And just giving advice to little things. But as you were kind of saying, it sounds like we could work in tandem indeed with some of the more physical stuff there. And then, you give me the guys that want to go on a journey and go from there.
Well, that's interesting when you said the car accident, because one of the individuals I work with, she told me the
Mhm.
other day I hit my knee really bad. I don't even know how it happened. And then it unlocked and I just cried like a baby. All of this stuff came coming out. He said, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to tell you this, but probably the universe was sort of brought that injury in there so that it would give you that opportunity to release, because her body does hold on to so much of the trauma. So a lot with the fascia work and the breath, and that mobility is to help release what
Mhm.
our body's trying to keep score on, or that energetic body that's
Right.
place.
Right. And that it's the path of least resistance to
Mhm.
get to that next unlocking. So there's so much mindset in that also, because we can say, why is this happening? And having such a bad day, like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. But when we are, again, taking that pause, taking that deep breath, like let's slow this train down, because if one thing happens and then it leads to a release, then you can think, oh, okay, good, that was okay, great, it's happening for me. If there's a series of things, that's because of momentum and law of attraction, right? So of course, the better it gets, the better it gets, and the worse it gets, the worse it gets. So having this opportunity to pause
Mhm.
in the middle, to find our breath, to quiet our mind, to really distract ourselves, pet your dog, do something. And so I understand that those things work, and it's also works for our brain, because what we focus on grows. And once that momentum starts, it's hard to turn that train around. How can we balance this again with the conditioning of feeling like it's irresponsible to give ourselves this much attention, that feels like it's even irresponsible to pet my dog when, you know, my bills are piling up, or whatever the thing is that's making someone stressed or wound up. Um, how are you helping people, or how do you just shift that momentum or course correct?
So for myself, I have 5 pillars, and it is health-based and concrete to optimize your health. And the vibration sage for arousing, energy for health and happiness. So there's a physical component. So the breath, it does create physiological changes to help reduce like the blood pressure and to calm you down to be healthy. When you get older, there's a fear that you're going to have a disease or disorder. And it's not selfish to try to prevent it. You can go there. But about the breath, the importance of movement. We need to move. Life is moving, it is growing. You don't have to run a marathon unless you want to run a marathon. You don't have to do yoga unless it serves you, but finding something that will be good for you that you can find sustainable. It could be walking your dog 4 times a day and doing some squats while you're doing it. Nutrition, and all of these things change as we get older or throughout our lifespan. When you're a kid, you can eat all of this junk food. It doesn't make any difference. 30s, it starts to change. 40s, 50s, whoa, let's watch out. So tapping in, that is not selfish, to try to feel healthy and to have energy. Sleep is very important for our body to repair, again, so that we can be healthy and strong. Even if you feel all you're doing is giving to others, you want to give your best. And then the last one's purpose. With breath and purpose, there's tremendous amount of research that has shown when you live from that heart space, and it could be something as simple as playing a piano at a senior center, or walking dogs, or playing with your dogs or grandkids or kids. So between the breath, the movement, the nutrition, the sleep, and purpose, nobody's going to argue that that's necessarily being selfish. You have to find how you will work on those within your life of where you are in your life right now. If that makes sense.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Trina, would you like to add anything to that, please?
Everything she said, and it's funny because my brain is like also having a little twist of like with the meaning of all of those with a shamanic twist, like the sleep, for instance. Sleep is important in the shamanic world because their dreams are so important, you know? There you can learn so many things from what you actually dream about. And so many people are sometimes scared to sleep because they have nightmares. And I'm like, listen, they're trying to tell you something. Your subconscious is trying to relay something to you. But of course, sleep is also very important for the health of your brain. Like after my accident, I had a really bad concussion, and my neurologist was like, you need to make sure that you're resting more, because at the time I was working 2 jobs. And he was like, you are going to slow down your healing process if you do not sleep. So it's so key if you have some sort of physical issue. But again, even if you're just wanting to understand why certain things are happening, you get messages in your dreams. So I would even suggest maybe take a lucid dreaming class. Do something where you're actually trying to understand what's happening in your sleep. Um, a really easy thing that I also suggest that people maybe who think they're being a little too selfish could do without feeling too bad. Take a break for 2 to 5 seconds and try to clear your mind and think about nothing as much as you possibly can. And I know that might be hard. So if you have to work up to thinking about nothing, maybe for 2 to 5 seconds, think of the happiest moments that you've ever had in your entire life. And what you do is you take that feeling, smile if you can, and like feel the emotion of being happy within every cell of your body as much as you can for 2 to 5 seconds, as often as you can throughout the day. Set an alarm if you can, because what you do is you're literally encoding all of those happy serotonins, oxytocin, all of those things to be flooding in your brain as often as you can. And when you have those things, then your brain is more relaxed, and then it promotes healing on every single level. So it's such an easy thing that you can do without feeling like, I'm taken away from anything else, or, it doesn't have to feel selfish. So that's a really simple tip.
I love that. And I also love how what you heard in my question was people not wanting to feel selfish. And I love that because like I personally don't care what anybody thinks. And it took a long time to get here, and it required, 50% of the people in this house moving out.
Yeah.
So now I don't care, and I don't have to look at the face of what I don't care. Like all of those things. I know I'm the deliberate creator of my experience. I totally get that. And what I love is that as you were saying that, I was thinking like, okay, well, that sounds, you know, more lack based, but I know that our conditioning says, oh, you can't do that. You need to do something better. So I was trying to think of, well, what is my definition of selfish? What would be the opposite? And that would be impact, to have impact and to be in service. And if I'm being in service to myself because of these results that you ladies experience, write about, coach about, teach and work with your clients to give them their breakthroughs as well, that we get to be our own object of attention, and not even just adding ourselves to the list, but adding ourselves to the top of the list. And when we're thinking about that, might be unfamiliar, and if you've thought about who do you have at the top of the list and why are they at the top of the list, my mind would come to, again, this is this is only going to the people that are getting our replays. But so the top of my list used to be my ex-husband. And the reason he was at the top of the list is because his behavior was unpredictable. He was very polite. He wasn't like scary unpredictable, but if you crave safety, any kind of unpredictability doesn't feel safe. So he was at the top of my list of who all my attention went to make sure that all of the stars aligned for his experience, because his experience greatly impacted mine. So even though I would say he wasn't at the top of or that he was at the top of the list, I really was. So even I'm just having this awareness in real time. So having that, this idea that we can't be at the top of our list, we already are. We're just calling it something else. It's actually, let's shift it from high functioning codependency, because we can't tolerate somebody else's experience because it messes with our joy, and do those things that really are feeding our souls in a way that is a vote for the woman we're becoming, because then being at the top of our list, everybody else gets the beautiful impact of that. And it's, again, we talk about, filling our cup till it's overflowing, and we give from our saucer. So when our saucer is empty, we fill our cup again. It doesn't take very long because it was close to the top. And then we are only giving from our saucers. And that is when we have true impact, but not at the expense of our health, of our mental health, of our well-being, of our physical capability of caring for all the things in our charge.
They call that giving from the overflow.
Love it.
Yeah. There's something you said there too that remind me of there's this one teacher named Bentino Massaro, and he will say everything is pretty much service to self. Even though you don't think it is, when you tie it back and it's exactly, what you said, because you think you're making this person happy so that they're happy, but you want them to be happy so that you can be happy. And so you're really taking care of yourself, but it's not a negative thing, because I mean, we're humans designed to be this way, where we want that joy, we want that happiness for ourselves. If we're not happy, then what's the point? And so having that, once again, different perspective can really help you to understand that you're not always deferring to somebody else. You're not always just serving them. You're not always just doing something for your kids or work or anything like that. It really does bring you some sort of happiness, so you can find happiness in that fact as well.
Yes. Yes. And you just get into a habit, I think, also of almost answering no to invitations because you don't think the other person can do in your absence or what. I mean, you just create this whole world that we can be blaming somebody else for, and we created it. And
Yeah.
so we get to, through aligned, empowered decisions, not in opposition to anyone, but in alliance with ourselves, to do it differently. And I think that's so much about what both of your work is about. But Nancy, can you share, like, how have you seen implementing these pillars, and how is that working toward creating a new mindset at the same time as your client is living in what feels like a new body because of age and there's changes, and like, what are we doing?
I have to meet them where they are. So
Mm.
looking at the idea of those pillars, and after doing an assessment, do we do the deep dive where it's the hard work, or do we go with the area that maybe they're doing okay with, but they just want to even make it stronger, really part of what they're doing. And I say it depends on where they are. I'm divorced, so maybe this is why I attract women who are divorced or their problems. I left my husband after 23 years thinking that was going to solve my problems, whatever these mysterious problems are. And then I came out like, who am I? I didn't even know who my voice was anymore. And it's not uncommon for somebody to come to me who's also like I was. That's where that breath work and just trying to quiet the mind at first and just seeing what comes out and just to soften that and to be gentle with yourself.
So maybe if you could, would you mind sharing a bit of your journey, since you said it depends on where they were or where they are, you know, where you were or where you are. So how did that look for you?
So from the outside, it may have looked great. I had 3 kids and they were doing okay. And I had a husband who made good money. And we had a nice house and the car and all of that other kind of stuff. So on the outside, things look really great. He could be very critical. So through and in that kind of a relationship, it's like you're the best. And then how did you do that? That was so stupid. So after I ran my first marathon was when I realized I could do anything. And that gave me the strength
And how
to
old were you when you
go
ran your first marathon?
47, almost 48.
Good.
I didn't even know what a marathon was 4 months before that. And I'm
Mm.
like, I can do anything. So that empowered me. But
In
then
4 months?
I know.
yeah,
You're a queen.
96.1,
Go on.
5 hours and 10 minutes, something like that. So
Wow.
I did okay. Same time my daughter was in a psych hospital, but I won't go on that road right now.
Okay.
So there was a whole lot of stuff going on. And then I left him thinking that would be the answer. And that was the beginning of me going, who am I? Because I had lost myself. I was a speech pathologist, I was a mother, and I was a wife. But who's Nancy?
Mhm.
And that's been my journey since 2008. So I've been on that journey for 17 years, and there's been one layer, and I recognize, and even with those that I work with, we're a work in progress. We got to meet where we are and what's going to feel good and what can we continue to do. It could be doing a breath with that timer on every hour to take that breath in and feel good about yourself, but meeting somebody where they are to slowly, I almost feel like we have to get rid of the gunk that's been hiding, and then it takes time then to build ourselves up. And we all have our own way of doing that. Personally, once I realized I had a voice,
Yeah.
and that took a few years because I started dating guys who were a little bit like my ex-husband. They treat
Imagine
well.
that.
Can you believe that? And
I
then
can.
finally I was like, no. And guess what? It was okay. So maybe that would be the lesson. Just do a little thing a little different, getting that voice up, but with what feels right for you when you know that I'm doing it for them to do the path of least resistance. Nobody fell apart. The world kept spinning. Then I realized my ego was in play
Mhm.
because we think that nobody can go without us and all the things that we give. But sometimes we got to let that go so that we can be our best self. And now I'm not living in what should I do in that world of every decision was made based on what I felt was right for the other person. The
Mhm.
last thing you are is present when all you're doing is thinking. Me
Yeah.
thinking about you, thinking about me, thinking about you type of thing.
Yep.
And that became, and again, it doesn't, where I am now doesn't happen overnight. And if somebody started where I was or something similar, we all have a little different journey. We're all unique, and that is the beauty. And just trying to discover who that is. And I tap into my 4 and 6-year-old self, who is this gregarious girl who like jumping around and playing in the woods, because I think that that's my authentic self, that little kid before she got the
Mm.
expectations placed on her to be quiet and shut up and do what you're told.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I answered the question, but it
Totally.
was really hard, really, who am I? And you can't necessarily go out of the gate with it. You just need to know I'm not where I want to be. And I know there's something else, and I'm going to have faith in the universe and all the people that come.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I think we can even reframe that. If anyone is wondering, who am I? We can ask a softer question. Who am I becoming?
Yeah. We're just sort of part of the past, the present, and who we want to be.
Yeah. And we are never going to get it done and we can't get it wrong. So let's just keep going. Like, it's so
A
good.
beautiful journey when we open up
Yeah.
with love. And once we
Mm.
know we're authentically coming from that, what can go wrong?
Right. There's so little attachment to other people's opinion in that headspace. For me, it didn't become a practice until I felt the not detached, because I think that's a disorder, but but being unattached. And when I felt what that really felt like, and it's clean. It's clean energy, and oh my gosh, like you said, the world didn't end. You used your voice, and I mean, you're there. I know there's a microphone in your future as well, and just just wait, because there's something about using your voice and then feeling the positive impact, that even if it's just your own experience, that it erases a lot of years of feeling like you didn't. Once you found your voice, you don't have to find it every day for as many years as you didn't exercise it before. It feels kind of one and done, as far as like, oh, now this is the woman I'm becoming, this the woman with the microphone. And if you don't like what I have to say, stop behaving poorly and give me nothing to talk about.
Well, as you said, the woman you are right now is different than the woman you're going to be in 6 months.
That's
And
right.
to embrace that instead of just thinking you're like this statue that's going through in time as well. And like, whoa, this is good. I'm just getting better and better.
Yeah,
You know?
it's expansive. Tarina, what would you like to add?
Oh man. Um, it it's really tough, I think, especially as a woman to have that permission slip to be yourself. You know, you grow up with so many rules and, be this, be that, and, whatever your fulfill the dream your mother never fulfilled or your father never fulfilled. And, we want you to step into these shoes and whatnot. And so, like, it took me, a while to even tell like my parents what I do. I'm a shaman.
Mhm.
What in the world? Like I grew up Baptist, went
Right.
to church every single day. I mean, it was a lot. And like even now, since I don't go to church every single Sunday to where, they want me to go, it could still be a little source of contention. But I'm like, listen, I have never felt more in alignment with God, more myself, more in tune with the universe, more intuitive, more loving, more, expansive than I have right now. And it was just about me really taking the time to tap and tune into who I wanted to be and following my passion. When I, made it a really intentional point to, when I saw courses that I wanted to do, I did it. When I saw a class, I did it. When there was a mentor, I did it. Like I went to Egypt last year. People were like, who are you going with? I'm going with a group of women I've never met before, and we're going to have an amazing time. And I did. Like, it is just so important to follow your passions, so that you can become the person that you are meant to be, and show up in the skin that you really want to show up in, and just be present to help others, because again, help others, and it just gives you so much joy. At least it does for me. More, I felt like I left my body, and there's so much healing that happened in 20 minutes, as opposed to, 5 years of therapy that I did with a doctor, psychiatrist. I'm just like, okay, I had no idea what this session would have been like before, because I just let life move through me. I'm just a channel, and it's going to happen as it happens. I'm not a healer, I'm a channel. Once you are open, then we can, meet each other on a frequency, and just let the life force energy do what it needs to do. So we just have to just follow our passions more.
Oh my gosh, Nancy, I feel like you have something to say. Go.
Oh, I was just listening to it. It's just, yeah, everything you were just saying just so resonates.
Yeah, it's beautiful when we have these experiences and have this realization that we can trust ourselves, that we are connected to source, that even that phrase of trusting ourselves, it's trusting the God inside of us, like this source energy, whatever words feel good to you. Like you, Jarena, I was also raised in church, and also like you, I have never felt closer to God and farther away from the church than I do in this season of my life. And I'm fine with it. And I'm fine with whatever they're getting in the space that they need. And I mean, that's just another beautiful feeling of feeling unattached to other people's opinions and all of that. But I love that this plugging in to this source and energy, we're the toaster, right? So, but we're not what's in the outlet. But when we are plugged in, we can actually be in our function. We can do the work that we're here to do. Otherwise, we're just shiny sitting on a counter, not doing what we need to do. So I love this. I love all of it. Okay. In closing, so good, right? Oh my gosh. And I'm so happy that you guys are close. And now, I mean, you're geographically close, but your work is so aligned. It's really beautiful. So at the end of the first session, we were talking about when you are confused and you don't know something. My friend Sharon was one of the presenters, and she would ask me when I was feeling like that, well, what do you know? And I could go on a whole rampage about what I know that feels really good in my body and helps with that clarity. And the phrase that came up for me to ask in this conversation that I'm so grateful to witness is, who are you becoming? So I would love if you just took a second and thought about how you would like to answer that in this moment, however there's obviously no right or wrong because I just made it up. So, but I think it's a really beautiful um, question that is full of self-permission. So, Nancy, what would you say that
So
you are
for, s-
becoming?
for some reason, that gives me tears in my eyes.
I love it.
So I feel like I am allowing myself to open up to the beauty around the world that I see. You know, the other day we were at an event, and it does tie in with this, and we did this headset, this meditation. And then for some reason, when I opened up, and there are all sorts of different people. I mean, this guy had this polka dot hat and pink pants, and I'm going, oh my goodness, this world is just so beautiful as long as we embrace all of the diversity. And if we just stop thinking we need to be somebody else. And I just envisioned could you imagine if everybody's like any one of us? Oh, it'd be horrible. So each day I'm trying to grow and to learn and to tap into whether it's intuitive or my true self or my God, whatever it is. So what I'm doing is trying to find the beauty in all. So that would be, who am I becoming? I'm becoming someone who used to be very critical because people were judgmental, to open my heart so that I can truly see the beauty that lies within everybody. So
That's gorgeous.
No.
Jarena, who are you becoming?
Yeah. I think I am working on becoming just the most authentic version of a shaman that I can be. And it's it's a struggle sometimes because, I went to college and worked in a law office and everything, and everybody's like credentials, credentials, and be a doctor and all of these types of things. And you walk into a room, and depending on which room you're in, you say, even if I say I'm a trauma counselor, I'm a shaman, the ones with the credentials are like, what is that? Like you don't have anything to be here, like you're not enough.
Mm.
Um, but I used to feel bad about myself, but then I realized I'm in the wrong room and
Ooh.
yeah.
I need to go someplace else
Mm.
where other people understand how powerful a shaman can be and how powerful it is for you to be a trauma counselor and help people from the deepest, darkest depths of misery and depression they can be to be the best version that they can be. So I am working on continuing to become the purest channel of shamanic energy that I can be.
Oh my gosh. Mm. I am becoming, I loved what you just said. I'm becoming a woman who knows when she's in the right room or not.
Mm,
You
it's
know,
so
when you
powerful.
said that, brought back a memory. Somebody said, I talked about Reiki, and they said, well, I need research. This is
Mm,
new age. I said, no, this is the old stuff.
hmm.
Practicing and what you believe in is the new stuff.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
it's
Anyway,
true.
It's
so going with the
amazing.
room and shifting things, and I think what you're doing has to be so powerful because it's been done for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and it's been suppressed.
Hmm.
Right.
That is the old stuff that's now coming back because it's just powerful and the world really,
Is calling for it.
it's
That's
called,
why it's coming.
it's
Yeah.
coming back. We're
Yeah.
not the new, we're the old coming back.
Right? Oh,
For
it's so
better.
good. I was interviewing a woman for the podcast, and she's done some really beautiful work around getting herself out of six figures of debt. And she created this system, and she's a money coach, and she's doing all the things. And she was sharing a bit of her process, and the formula or whatever I get process that she's created. And she said, she's like, well, and this is really important, and you got to do this and put this on the spreadsheet because you cannot trust your emotions. And I did that. And I was like, oh, 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 wait a minute. I love your work. I love that this worked for you. And I have to disagree.
Mm.
Because and just like in the seconds that it took for me to articulate those words, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to nod. Oh, I'm supposed to like not, like, what am I talking about? This is my microphone. This is my
Yeah.
podcast. And she wasn't even asking me to, it was just, that was her thought system. And I was so, well, proud of myself for having a differing opinion and
Mhm.
not self-abandoning. Good night. So I was proud of myself that it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the work and the work works. And I'm like so excited. But to be able to tell her, actually, my emotions, that's pretty much all I can trust. Because if
Yeah.
I'm relying on my thoughts, that is a middle school lunchroom in there. And that is full of mean girls. And if that is what I'm supposed to be listening to get myself to be the woman I'm becoming, no thanks. And I was able to say, I mean, I wasn't able to say, I said, actually, my human design, I'm a generator and my authority is emotional. So, and that was such a beautiful relief to find out because I was surrounded by many people who believed that you cannot trust your emotions and that only your thoughts are what's true and everything else is not. And so it was really fascinating and then also beautiful. She said, my friend is going to die when I tell her this because she keeps telling me about human design and I tell her it's nonsense. And the fact that you just said it, I think that I'm supposed to look into it. Like, I think
Yeah.
you are because you're going to coach somebody that's not you. And
Yeah.
I think for some people, I get maybe one of the authorities is logic. I don't know. But the emotions are our internal guidance system and the the permission that we give ourselves to trust ourselves and to trust that inner knowing, even when it could potentially offend somebody or cause an awkward moment. Any awkwardness that might have been in that conversation was so overshadowed with my glee over knowing myself and saying it out loud and having a positive reaction, like that would also wouldn't have mattered, but it just felt really good. Like when we have these opportunities to go, oh, oh, I am doing it. Oh, yay. Good. It happened when I looked at my P&L last year because I was usually very avoidant about that. I was total ladybug on her back and did not want to do it, and I needed to do it. And then it was really great information. And I now QuickBooks is my boyfriend, and we hang out every day. And I'm so excited to see, like, oh, tell me what I need to know, and tell me, like, let me tell you where we're going because I am the boss of this place. So it's just, it gets
That's
to
hilarious.
be fun.
Yes.
Right? It's so good. Okay, so as we close, Dorina, is there anything that you would like to say, sum up this conversation, and also any invitations that you have for people to get to know you better and what you're working on?
I just have to touch on one thing that you said
Do it.
because
I've got nothing but time,
about
Queen.
yeah, you said something about emotions, and there's so many people, and I used to say this too, that humans don't come with a manual, a user's manual. And after a lot of, shamanic training and, different things, I learned we did. It's your emotions. If you tap into your emotions and you actually truly listen to what you're feeling, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, your intuition, higher self, all of those things combined, they're actually guiding you, telling you what you should be doing. Do you feel happy doing this? Do that. You feel miserable? Go away from that. You know, if you just tap into and really feel into your emotions, that's all the manual that you need. So I'm so happy that you experienced that.
Agreed, agreed.
I know, I wish more people would really sink down and feel that, because it really is, it's all you really need.
Yeah, it's
Um,
countercultural though.
it definitely is. And they don't teach us this, of course.
No.
So we have to figure it out in this game of life that we're in, but here we are. Um, Okay, one of the biggest projects that I'm working on right now is called the Zen League. So I do want to just touch on that.
Please.
This is where I am going into corporations like businesses and bringing meditation to them. And so this is to help combat chronic stress and burnout, just giving them that 20 minute of, we combine some breath work. I literally created music with solfeggio frequencies and binaural beats and just all sorts of things. And of course, this little hypnosis and a tiny little journey in there to try to get them to calm down, and just relax them so that they can go back into the workplace rejuvenated and with clarity and be able to work better with others and stuff like that. I can customize it for the group depending on what it is that they need. And it's up to about 10 people per group. So that is my baby right now that I am
I
working on.
love it.
Thank
And are
you.
you
That's
doing
in
that
person.
only in person? Yeah, that's what I was asking. In person, or are you doing that virtually as well?
Do both. Both is great. The key is I would just require you to wear headphones because of the binaural beats and things like that that are happening. But yeah, so in person, I'll give you headphones. Online, definitely just do that, and that's fine. And then online, there's really no there's no max there. I love it because there's so much energy when you're in a group. It amplifies everybody's experience in your healing process and everything else that's happening. So that is why I designed it in that way. Of course, I still do one-on-ones. My
Okay, I'm
website.
going to stop you for 1 second.
Yes.
I want you to take a breath.
Yes.
You're talking really fast because I think that we're out of time and we've got nothing but time, and I want you to be excited.
I am excited. That's what it is. I'm
I'm
excited.
glad. Okay, good.
Yeah, so my one-on-ones I still do as well for people again who are struggling with any sort of illness, or if again they're just lost and confused with what's going on with their life, they don't know, heads from tails. We can have sessions to find out what is happening and then guide them into healing sessions and give pointers afterwards on how to heal with, nutrition and exercise and things like that as well. Um, they can find me on Instagram, first name, last name, Jarena Willisey. I also have a website, Infinite Waves of Healing, and you can book a consultation and sessions there.
Fantastic. And we will include everything with the replay links as well. Thank you. Nancy, how about you? Any takeaways, and where would you like people to find you?
Sure. I want to jump back to what you were saying with the
Do it.
conversation you had with that podcast person. And maybe there was a part of you that years ago wouldn't have said anything. But instead you were your authentic self, not because you learned anything in a book. I mean, this is like life experience and something that's really real, visceral part of who you are. And when you shared that, and then you said how she received it, that was beautiful because you gave her some insight, which she wouldn't have done without that. When we try to play safe because we worry about the other person.
Mhm.
Listening to this, that's somewhat of what we're talking about so much here. When you tap into like really what's authentic, and you didn't tell her she had to do it, you were just saying that this is my experience. And as we take care of ourselves and then self-love and self-discovery, now we share this wisdom and what we've learned, not telling somebody that they have to do it, but just
Right.
letting them know there are other ways. And it's beautiful. We're like this beautiful mosaic. So I
Yes.
just felt like you gave her like a gift there, and I bet she'll do human design. But if you had just listened and did like that, who knows,
Or
maybe,
even nodded, like
yeah,
forgot that I don't believe that anymore.
right. It would have been different. So that was sort of what was resonating
Thank you.
with
I
me.
received that.
For myself, for years, I've wanted to do a retreat, and I've attended a lot of retreats, and I love to travel. In November, I'm doing my first full week international retreat in Costa Rica. And it is about not just tapping into that inner sage, but really coming within, but of inviting people instead of going solo to come with somebody. It could be a friend, a spouse, a child, somebody who, as you're working with things inside, now you've got somebody to share with and you collaborate. So by the end, you take it with you, because so often we learn these things in these communities and then we get home, we're like, what? But it's really this experience as we go within that we want to share it with those that we love. So
And it's hard to explain what happens. So having them witness, that's really brilliant.
and you're both doing it together. So again, whether it's spouses, friends, it could be like a woman and her mom who's older, they want, or a daughter, or it really doesn't make any difference. Good friends, partners, just somebody who you love. And together you can both grow and give yourself that self-love. And now you've got somebody to share it with, as well as another community. So it will be considered a yoga and wellness retreat, but it will not be a vigorous yoga. It'll be more of a meditative, holding the poses, feeling the stress, stretch, and just tapping in with healthy foods. It's in the jungle. We're 5-minute bike ride to the ocean. So we have both. So it'll be beautiful. And there will be some events where there will be one where, because purpose is so important, we will be going into the community, trying and to give within the community as part of one of those experiences. And that'll be in
That's
Costa Rica,
beautiful.
the 1st of March. I will have more information on my website, and that is thevibrantsage.com. I have written a book, The Vibrant Sage, Arousing Energy for Health and Happiness. So anybody who's listening to not anybody, the first 3 people who would like to have a complimentary copy, please go to my website and then sign up for my guide. I have a guide to intentional well-being. So Tony will probably be the first, or Tanya, probably be the first one up there. And I will send you a signed copy of my book. And I'll have maybe a little conversation so I get to know a little bit about you, so that it can really be a personalized gift for you. And that's my thanks for you for listening and to caring about yourself, and may you gain wisdom.
So
And I
beautiful.
do health coaching as well. You can go on the website.
There, I'm muted. How
Whatever.
beautiful. How beautiful.
But that's really it's the retreat and getting more and more people to tap into their own inner sage, their wisdom.
Beautiful.
It's so good. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone. I'm so delighted. I will see
Is there
you
just a couple
tomorrow.
seconds? Is there a couple seconds for
Of
me?
course, there's. Oh, do you have a question? Yes.
I don't have questions. I just have a quick.
You don't have to be quick.
I just want to say I'm absolutely positive. I'm a lot older than all of you, so I have a little more, time to work on all these things that you've been talking about. But I have to say, I don't think I've ever been in a conversation that resonated more with me in my life. And I'll tell you just a couple of reasons. I've had 2 times in my life that have been so significant, and they were both just one sentence things that friends said to me. And one was when I was 40 years old. I was just feeling down. There was nothing wrong in my life per se, but I think probably I was feeling a lot of things. I didn't know what was going on. But anyway, I was just sitting in the Department of Motor Vehicles with my 16-year-old, waiting 8 hours for an appointment. And this woman from my church walked in with her mother-in-law and saw me and just went straight to me. And then she said, you know what, just a minute, I'm going to go take my mother-in-law home and I'm going to be right back. So I said, okay. So she came back and she just sat with me and she talked with me and she gave me a recipe. Put anything on steamed spinach, like whatever, but that's different. But she said to me, trust God and let him work out the details. And I have to tell you, this has been a theme in my life, and it's so close to what some of you talked about today. For me, it's God just releasing it. It has been pretty much a daily thing. I can't tell you how many people I've said that to in times of worry or stress for them. And it's given my life so much comfort. And another one was, how do you pronounce your name? Jarina,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Okay. What you were talking about. But I have worked on this since I heard it in my early 50s, late 40s. My kids were all going off to college. And, you know, you're looking at this empty space in front of you. And she said, because she's 10 years older than me, she said, you just have to be in motion and reinvent yourself all the time. Reinvent yourself, reinvent yourself. And I think her saying that to me made me feel like there wasn't like two parts of my life, the past and the future, that everything was in motion, and it tied everything together for me. And it helped me have so much faith in the future that I didn't have to worry about, because there was this concept of motion I get, that even the next thing that comes isn't going to be the always. It's going to be a constant time of reinvention all the time. And life is that, right? But once I kind of had that concept, and then again, when you said being in the wrong room is something I haven't had
That was the mic
concept
drop.
to attach to, but it's a really strong feeling that I've only allowed myself to be feeling for about the last 10 years. And I'm really, of course, never mastering it, but I think when the question's asked, who are you becoming? I'm becoming a person who wants to be in the right room and who is learning to know when I am. And it helps me love myself more and, you know, like what I'm doing and be able to dream and all kinds of things. Yeah. So thank you so much. All of you said so many things that just resonated so deep in my heart. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're welcome. And I just want to say, sometimes you need to make the room yourself.
I was thinking that.
Yeah,
Love that.
you need to
Yeah.
create your own room if you don't fit in someplace.
Yeah. Well, I kind of am. And Wendy knows about my adventure, and that's a whole big piece of it too. Following my dreams.
Awesome.
If
Yeah.
they're in you, they're for you.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. God
You're
is
so
in
Never hear
you.
that one enough. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
So
gosh, I could not love you
today.
more.
Thank you so, so much. I was so happy
You're
to be here.
so welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Thank
We're
you.
at work right now. Sanity. Okay. I love you all so, so much. I'll see you tomorrow.